So my name is Alan Peden. I am the Technical Director, co-founder at Auxilium IT Consultancy based in Scotland. I'm a Microsoft MVP, joined that programme this year. I also, like Lee, I joined EUC this year as well, and the idea of that is, as Lee said in his previous session, if you were in research, if you haven't looked up, if you're looking for any information on EUC, research information, go EUC is the place to go. So over the space of this year, I'll be doing some things around Azure local testing. My MVP is kind of around the Azure hybrid, so I'll be doing a lot of testing, a lot of concepts on that. So that's something to look forward to.
And me, Ronnie Hamilton, Pre-Sales Director at Climb Channel Solutions. Been in EUC for 20 plus years, heavily involved in Citrix back in the day, and now sort of concentrating on security products for distribution.
So SASE, what is it? Secure Access Service Edge, get the acronym out of the way. So what we're going to talk about today, we'll run through what SASE is about and how it relates to EUC. Part of my job at the moment is looking at various different technologies. I came across Cato Networks through Climb, through Ronnie, and that kind of changed the direction of a lot of the stuff we were doing, really cool stuff. And I started to realise how much it related to EUC. So what we'll do, overview of Secure Access Service Edge. SASE or SSE, what is the difference? You'll be familiar with SSE, Zscaler, various different types of products. So that's SSE. Overview of some key features. We'll talk about zero trust network access, bringing your own security posture, as I call it, multi-session support scenario, enabling Windows 365 corporate access without any complexity. Browser isolation in a SASE world, what does that look like? User experience monitoring is even part of SASE. We know that that's a big thing these days. Browser-based clientless access as well. And at the end we'll have a little bit of Q&A and some feedback. So,
Okay.
What is SASE?
Okay, so SASE or Secure Access Edge, right? Term coined by Gartner. I think it was around 2018, maybe 2017. And it's really, if we think about what Nutanix done for networking, storage, infrastructure, Cato really kind of set the goalposts. Look at all the security platforms out there. It was actually the founder of Checkpoint and they got together and kind of redesigned the security architecture from the ground up and really come up with this secure access service edge. Right? So it's really software-defined networking, secure web gateway, CASB, all these features integrated, firewall as a service. So basically, moving your firewall into the cloud, no big bulky firewalls on your premises in each of your data centers with all the configuration, all the updates, all the CVEs, all the patching, all that planned downtime. Everything's in the cloud, so basically it's upgraded for you, so it kind of minimizes the operational aspects of your security. There is, as you say, multi other vendors in this space. You can see from the there.
So, as you probably noticed, you're going to be here talking about Cato Networks today in relation to SASE. Yeah. Now, I'm not really here to tell you the best SASE product. They all have their unique selling points, I am sure. This is the Gartner quadrant for them just now. We looked at Cato Networks and kind of how they were doing it differently and how they kind of are pretty much the poster child of SASE in a way. We chose to partner with them.
So we'll just think about the other security vendors that have a SASE solution at the moment. They've all been acquisition driven, right? So they've acquired different point solutions and integrate them to make their SASE solution. Whereas Cato built it from the ground up. And we're going to talk about a new feature that's literally just dropped last week.
We're going to talk about AI. Of course, we're going to talk about AI, right?
AI, shadow AI, security.
AI,
everything,
anything.
right?
Yeah,
But
AI, anything.
it's really clear. I did acquire a company to fulfill that issue, right? But the way they've integrated into the product, you can see that.
We'll go over that towards the end. So, SSE and SASE, right? Easiest way to think of this is a bit of a marketing slide from Cato. But essentially, when you look at what SSE is, in terms of ZTNA, VPN access, cloud gateway, CASB, data loss prevention, that's SSE. Stick the A in there, you get access, you get SD-WAN. And they've obviously stretched out SD-WAN as much as they can in various different methods. Firewall as a service, remote browser isolation. Again, that's not applicable to everyone. It's applicable to Cato, but that is the main difference. What I should say as well is that while Cato is a SASE platform, they are also an SSE platform as well. So you can just use Cato SSE, and then when MPLS contracts or whatever your current SD-WAN solution or whatever, you can then just merge the two together.
Yeah,
so they've kind of
be layered on.
it can be layered in.
So really just from a user access point of view, so that they can just layer on all those features.
Yeah, so Ronnie mentioned point solutions, so watch out for SASE. Whenever if there's any advice to give anybody, if they're interested in looking at SASE vendors, look at how they're put together. Look at, is it like a telco solution, for example? They'll tell you they've got SASE, and they'll have just this big stack of various different vendor technologies. They might have Cisco here doing SD-WAN, they might have Zscaler, they might have all these different technologies, and they say, yeah, we're doing SASE, but are they really? Do you know what I mean? It's just complexity is really what they're doing, because none of this is new, right? DLP, CASB, SD-WAN, none of this is new, but the way it's delivered is slightly unique, and that's really the important part, is how it's delivered, because really we just want simplicity. That ain't simplicity. We've had that headache for 100 years. Things like that anyway. So we'll have a Cato Networks overview now.
Okay, so Cato is built along the space architecture, right? It's a single pass cloud engine. So if you think about when another SASE solution have acquired different vendors, each time that the packet runs through that engine, it has to run through multiple engines. So the beauty where Cato fits in is everything's done as a single pass. There's no lag, there's no slowness, and it's just a solution. We can connect behind the socket for each individual site, but at the same time we can connect to Azure, AWS, and other cloud providers. You can also build your own Cato socket in a VMware environment as well, and we can build a socket and connect that public kind of cloud provider as well. It branched into IoT as well. So the thing there is you could be running your Cato solutions for a year, 2 years, and you're a manufacturing organization, and then you can start to think about what IoT devices, what's connected to the network. All that data is already there, so just enabling that feature would give you historical data and usage as well, which is quite a neat feature. Obviously, for the SaaS optimization, we can do things like securing your Windows 365 deployment to say that you get a number of public IPs with the Cato solution, so you can basically say, unless this public IP is attached into your Microsoft environment, and put a Microsoft rule in there to block that, you can tie down your security completely so that no one's accessing your 365 solutions or subscriptions.
So the idea of Cato specifically is that your security posture lives in your tenant within a point of presence. Point of presence, for example, there's one in London, Manchester, Dublin, there's over 100 across the world. All of the point of presences are connected businesses exactly, are connected through a global private backbone. Similar to AWS data centers, Microsoft data centers, they've got a global private backbone.
Which you'll find is they're all based in these Equinix data centers and internet providers, so you could potentially have some private connectivity into the internet as well, and the cable will sit in the same racks and stuff, so you can get that.
So if I'm wanting to break it, if I'm going to a service in America, rather than going straight over the public internet, I'll go to the local port, which is London, I'll go to the private backbone and I'll egress out through the port that's closest, so we can do a lot of WAN optimization around that. And because it's a private backbone, Cato will give you your own egress IPs. So you get by default 3, but you can have as many so that they're specific to your training. You can then blend that in with things like, conditional access and say, if you want access to SharePoint, you have to have authenticated to the Cato network, ZTNA policies, blah, blah, blah. There's lots of various different things you can do. We'll demonstrate some of that through this presentation.
I suppose the top part as well can do XDR SOC all through your Cato security policy as well. And you can have Cato manage it, where you can manage that in an MSP for your customers.
Yeah.
So, single cloud management, this is what it looks like. SASE platform, but we'll show it towards the end and we'll see it through. This is just multiple regions connecting in.
This is just my test tenant. You're wondering why all the sites are actually down. It's not representative of that customer environment.
Yeah. Okay, so the first video is really around zero trust access. So we can see, if you think about, if you're coming from NetScaler background, doing a scan, checking your AV, checking your policy, your patches are okay, all that type of thing. So any of those kind of policy scans that you can do at the client, you can do it from the Cato device. Obviously the Cato client will be installed, it does the checks, and then we can build policies around that. So this one we're just blocking ping to Azure. So we'll see from the video that when we're doing the ping, it's obviously dropped, but when the Cato client connects, it connects and brings up the network. The client can be installed, it can be always on. If you're sitting behind a socket, it knows and detects you're in the office versus sitting at home and that type of thing. It shows all the last mile traffic and that type of thing.
And the key point to this is ZTNA, so obviously the client's installed, it'll check every minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you define. You see here, we're just going to run through a bunch of different videos kind of showing you what it's all about, but essentially, right here, this is blocked ICMP to Azure unless you meet that profile, which is just Windows Firewall. We're not setting up any enterprise level tests. You can see here, blocked. I can't count the amount of times I've been pinging it as I was testing this. So
I'm trying to get the clients off a minute.
Okay. So Cato client is connected, and what I'll do is I will try and ping a resource in Azure that gets set up, and I won't be able to do it. And then essentially at this point, all I'm really going to do is enable Windows Firewall. Once the device posture says, okay, you've got Windows Firewall on, Cato then reflects that, and then Cato opens up various different rules. It's kind of fun, it's kind of that ZTNA architecture, which is pretty fundamental. You obviously in a large environment build that out to various different scenarios which are relevant to your users and various different departments. And now that that's connected, I think I had set this to a minute or 2 minutes, but we're not going to sit and wait. There you go, it started pinging. So again, it's noticed Windows Firewalls come on, great, you've met the posture, right, okay, you can access that now. Same, if I turn it back off, I'll lose access to it because my device posture doesn't meet the requirements to access that particular resource. Now, we've seen a lot of this recently, right? And one of the reasons that SASE is important in EUC, right, is because Citrix are not a much larger desktop company, believe it or not. They're a security company. And they've tried to tell this story for years, with, especially most recently in acquisitions like Device Trust and, so if you're using Citrix and you're using this platform license and you jump from Microsoft AVD, it might be cheaper, but you also lose a lot. So you also need to think about the gaps and where the gaps are. And again, this is just depicting that Citrix secure private access story.
CTMA, specific CTMA policies and processes for the last 5, 6, 7 years, right? So obviously moving to a Microsoft solution, solely a Microsoft solution or another solution, there's different things there that you realize.
Yeah. So bring your own security posture. The great thing about this is obviously you configure a security posture in the cloud, you just take it anywhere with you, any cloud, any desktop. If it goes from Citrix to if you get maybe a small portion of Citrix, you've got a lot of AVD and you've got parallels and you've got whatever your use case may be. then you can just configure this policy once and it overarches your whole environment. So the example I'm going to show you here, right? So you can see some of these policies, right? So this is based on CASB and DLP in this particular example, but LinkedIn. So I'm not allowed to post messages on LinkedIn or send people messages. Maybe because on a Friday night I open my work's laptop, I get drunk, I send abusive messages out, and how much I hate my job. I don't know, but that's a use case. So it's blocked on this example. We can also monitor activity. A block upload to the Cato cloud, a block upload to iCloud, uploading files from a desktop. And what we'll do now is this is the bit for me that I really loved about this. Now, tying different security postures to a single multi-session host is quite difficult, right? If you don't have the tools to do it. So this is an example of me logged onto an AVD session host. I went to the BBC, so I'm allowed to access the BBC, rightly or wrongly, and I uploaded a test document to iCloud. All stuff that I'm allowed to do. You can see here, myself and Ronnie are on this session host, and this is the one I'm connected to. You can see there that it's actually Cato client saying multi-session is connected. So now what I do, flip over to Ronnie's session, you can see Ronnie's session there, and the cable shows you that. I blocked Ronnie from the BBC, so I get access to it, but Ronnie doesn't get access to it because he spends too much time on it. Sooner or later it's used. And the same goes with the iCloud, so he's not allowed to steal documents, he's got a habit of selling all the company information on the dark web, so sensitive company info, trying to upload it, nothing actually happens.
Try to upload it's broke, right?
It does just look like it's broke, nothing happens again, it's not uploading. What I will get, or what an admin will get, if I now set up an alert for that, I'll get an email to say, Ronnie's at it again, he's trying to upload stuff, trying to upload company information, there you go, what's he going on, Apple iCloud, storage, sanctioned apps. So, these alerts are coming through. Now you can export these to a scene or whatever you wish to do. The next test being the LinkedIn one, as I showed you. So back on my session host, if I try and post something now, I kept this as clean as I possibly could. I was in two minds to what to actually write here. I'm going to try to write something funny, but at the risk of offending people, I thought better not. So I can't be trusted to post online. Try and post it, and you see I'll get that kind of error that's returned from LinkedIn. Now, this is using TLS packet inspection, so that's how it knows. It's TLS inspection's turned on. It's every single bit of traffic's passing through that single pass security architecture, and it's going, LinkedIn matches this policy, not allowed to do it. Again, I can get an alert set up for that as well.
It's not just LinkedIn, right?
That could be anything. LLMs are the big one now. Obviously, you can stop it. But if I now log in But Ronnie's logged in user. I am able to post. If you ever see my LinkedIn, you see test appearing quite a lot. You know I'm up to something, and now I can post that because I can be trusted to act professionally in a working environment. So what I can do now is I'll jump back onto the. This is why I love the coffee demos, which smokes good work. Oh look, I'm getting an alert. Social alert, Alan's been at it again. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, he's trying to post on LinkedIn. And that's multi-session. That is really, really powerful for organisations. To achieve a lot of that, you could be, a lot of companies are splitting up session hosts, and splitting up pools and having pools for this. Tools for that. Yeah. Kate supports multi-session. I don't know if all SASE vendors do. Some might not. I don't know. It's the honest answer. But it's things that you need to consider when you're looking at this model for an organisation.
2 years old, so it's recent.
Yeah. This is that kind of
Yeah. So basically, it will simplify any deployment of 365, like you see, if you're doing ABD, you can have a socket in Azure, so that your ABD environment is sitting behind the cable socket, so obviously you need that to decipher the session host policy, if it's multi-session. Say all of a sudden your environment goes down, you have to spin up a bunch of Windows 365 PC, you just push the cable client, and that user logs in. That policy, that corporate policy, comes across with the user, so it's all based around the user. So quite powerful, and it gives you that access straight away.
That's just an example of it. This is my Windows 365 cloud machine.
Okay.
I went to Amazon, tried to find an internal resource. It's not going to let me do it. It's just deploy the engine, 365, great. Because there's other things to think about how you then link all that into your network. Minute I connect, I'm starting pinging. If I block Amazon, so the minute I refresh that, we block. Now the client is obviously, you wouldn't typically want your users turning the client on and off at their will to do different things. You can obviously, like you can with all these things, you can put it into an always-on configuration, start up and boot, all that sort of stuff.
And you can time policies and stuff as well. So say if you're using your carbon.com time browsing the web, you don't necessarily maybe want to copy or log into your browsing, so you can set different comprehensive policies and groups of users.
Yeah, fully integrates with any IDP pretty much, when you use entry groups, all that sort of stuff, you do stuff I was doing, you can use that pull down and pull them in.
Okay, so remote browser isolation, again, we can set up the rule for RBI. It's looking at a network level, so if you say a particular website goes, it can be redirected then. If you click on, you can see just this was a block and a deny for that one. Maybe skip
this. So it's the internet firewall. You can see, like any internet firewall, block, allow, prompt, but there's also the RBI, and the benefit of RBI merging, it's not we're not connecting to a particular remote session, a remote Chrome instance that you can use to do your unsafe browsing. This will actually define the categories, and RBI will just work inside any browser, which is render it in HTML5, so you're not restricted to any browser. Take any browser you wish. This is just an example.
Yes, it's just an example of Formula One, just to see on YouTube the speed based on it. So,
but you see what it does, it just redirects somewhere else because it's matched the policy. So you can see there, it's just rendering HTML5.
Yeah, and it's redirecting into the cable client, so it's a secure sandbox environment. So you can set up security groups, firewall, and again, it's always linked to that user and that user persona. But when we see the highlights in the video here, the rendering, it's
one inside. The fight for the Formula One World Championship continues.
We leave the line and we're underway.
This is the most interesting part of the presentation. That's the most interesting one.
200 metres, but it's 800 metres.
This is obviously not just check the performance of it. It was like, you know, because RBI is great, but if it's really laggy and horrible, it's, you know, and I was quite surprised at how well it performed.
What's this one? Yeah,
Browser-based
so,
access.
yeah, so again, things that we're familiar with from that skill were, you know, punching on the network to come in and look at a switch or a Nutanix cluster or RDP on the host. So again, it's just an access portal. So you can log in, you can set and publish the different icons. This video will show just connecting in, you're connecting into Nutanix cluster. You can log in, single sign-on. And again, just shows you the two applications, and obviously it just fills that other use cases to help you connect directly in the NRDP host or connect directly into your Nutanix cluster. This probably want to do that from a security point of view into your directly into your cluster. Yeah, sure.
You can do this with internal web apps, internal, you know, whatever you're delivering internally.
Thing, and it's all single sign-on, and we can single sign-on.
Yeah.
That's not what's not.
And again, that's just connecting in to the cable point of presence. Now, there's so many different ways to connect in. There's the SDP client, you can have your phone, Android, Apple, MacBooks, Windows, full client. You've just seen the portal, the kind of storefront type portal, if you want to call it that. Not exactly the same, but similar in concept. But there's also the browser extension as well. So the browser extension essentially creates that, you know, connect the browser extension, and that browser is then connected directly to the POP and all the security policies within that browser session are applying that POP. So it gives you egress.
Features around that.
Yeah, so, and this is an example of it. You can see here, well, again, you can run the client, you can see here, client's disconnected and I've got this extension. Again, this extension runs on any browser. So simply just log in. Again, I mentioned it's integrated with Entrust. You'll see the refresh. I didn't even bother recording that again, take that out. Just give the feel of a live demo. Authenticate as you would, and then that's essentially it connected. This wee bit up here will pop to green, and it will show you that I'm now connected. So that session now, if I refresh it, I'm now getting blocked because now that session's applied to that policy. You, as I said, you know, you think about if you were to block people from accessing Office 365 outside of Cato, this is another way we can get them. Don't need to install stuff, they can just use the browser extension, they can come in through the browser extension, and you can access whatever you do.
BYLD scenario, right? So you bring your own laptop, you don't necessarily want to install the client, but you need access to all the resources. And a lot of them are SaaS based, not necessarily.
You think about like IGL clients, for example, thin clients are just very kind of very light browser centric, that sort of thing. Yeah.
We tested this in
With the full client, which worked quite well.
Yeah.
No, it's not officially supported. Now, user experience monitoring. Cato have their own user experience monitoring tool. Now, you think about it, right? They're capturing everything, capturing every single packet that leaks, you know, every single security incident. Now, it also hooks into, like, so it can grab all the telemetry from Microsoft and bring it in, like around Teams and things like that. So you can use this as your user experience monitoring tooling. And this is just some examples from the dashboard within our tenant. You know, so you can see over time, like the different devices that I've connected from, the last point of presence, kind of, main applications. You can kind of drill further into that. If I look at Teams, for example, right, so these are a list of all my Teams calls. Now, it's not doing this. This is actually just pulling this from Microsoft, from MC65. But again, it knows, you can break it up, like, so it's looking at, if I've got, let's say for example, I've got poor performance here, then I can translate that back to my last mile. So it's monitoring your connection to the POP. So if that's high latency, or seeing dropouts between the POP, it will all flag in here. You can see here, like, I'm showing up as kind of poor poor latency on the LAN. There's so much that you can tie it together because you've got all that telemetry. So it bundles that into this desktop experience tool that they've got. And the fact that they've called it DEM and not DEX tells you they're not familiar with EUC. Right? They missed a marketing trick there. And as I said, we're going to talk about AI. So let's get the subject.
And if you think about where Kato was when we first did this presentation, right here.
Barcelona? No.
All the Gen AI apps, obviously it's looking at all the SaaS applications, so it can identify ChatGPT, it can identify what's been used. We could look and we could block different applications from a SASE level, from a CASB point of view, right? But obviously, around that time, Kato had purchased a car. EUC Security.
So yeah, so when everybody started thinking about shit, we need to think about security with AI. The first thing was CASB and DLP is a natural technology that's available. So Kato weren't really doing anything different here. What they started doing was going, right, we're going to create dashboards specifically for AI, and we'll use CASB and DLP. So we can look, you've seen what I was doing with the iCloud uploads. It's doing exactly the same thing. So looking at the full packet inspection, TLS inspection needs to be on, and it's going, right, great, I can do some management of these LLMs. But AI is obviously advancing at a significantly quick pace. Agents spinning up everywhere, actually doing physical tasks unmonitored, right? So we need to monitor the agents, what the agents doing. People that are putting data into LLMs, we need a slicker way than just blocking it. So Kato can do things like anonymise the data as it's going in. As Ronnie said, they purchased AIM Security. It was the first acquisition. The SASE platform built from the ground up. First acquisition was AIM Security, which has now been integrated. And every single POP now has NVIDIA GPUs deployed at it. And that's obviously to keep up with the pace of demand when it comes to securing AI. So I'm going to let Ronnie run through the later updates. Now, I should say the caveat, not that we've sounded like we know what we're talking about here, but we definitely don't really know what we're talking about in the next part, because this came out, this released a week ago, essentially. Everybody's talking about it. And I think if we're all honest, we're all still trying to find our feet. I think we're all still trying to find out what it can do for us, where we need to secure it, what the risks are. Everybody's got a various different opinion of it. But I think we can all agree that we've seen the film before when we deploy technology, don't think about security, and we're in the habit of just about to repeat that whole thing again. And it's not easy to architect back the way it's better starting at that security point. So
that was just
that's just the casualties, that's where they were at the start. Now this is the evolving side of it. How long have people lived?
5 minutes officially. It's a coffee break after you guys.
That's
how rowdy they
so,
get.
yeah, thanks so many friends I want to meet.
So obviously this is the Kato management console, right? This you have AI security literally dropped. It's dropped in the old down. Slightly earlier access than 3 hours, not really that much. You can see obviously there's some data in here at the start of the month. It was working, it wasn't working. Basically, we have multiple sections here. We have the overview. You can see the violations rate here. Okay, we can see the list of applications in use. We can view shadow AI inventory, so we can tag and flag applications that you would or wouldn't want to use. Okay, so you can see Claude, ChatGPT, the paid version, Complexity, Copilot, all different things that was used. You can see from the side as well, local agents, agent sessions. So there's nothing to figure here, but this would be around where, as Alan was saying, deploying something like Cloud Code, AI agents actually doing work. We can go in and look and configure those agents in here and monitor that. So it's giving you ability to monitor all the LLMs, the ChatGPTs, the Claudes of the world, everything that a user's using, every prompt that they put in, so you can basically record every prompt that a business uses. And you can look at personal identifiable information in those prompts. You can use Cato to anonymize that, so the minute someone will try and put company sensitive information into a prompt, it can either be blocked, activated, kind of it's again set up all around policies, right? So these ones are just set up to monitor. We can see from a network level, the Cato client it needs to be either installed or you behind the socket in an office or in a building, right? But there's also the API monitor, so you can actually monitor all the API calls that any of those LLMs or models are set up and configured to do. And the same with the browser, but you can control them all in separate policies, separate groups, separate policies. But again, these ones are just set up to monitor. If we look at the network rule, if we look at some of the actions, right, we can block, monitor, and anonymize. And we can then set that data to operations. So we can connect to any of these models through their APIs, but we can also store the prompts out in an S3 storage bucket, so you can put them out in a secure place, so apart from there as well, right? And that's what we just showed you that. Okay, so this everything's configured around the profile. So basically, you need a detect profile that detects everything, and everything's kind of linked back to that. And then this one was just around the personal identification information, which we can see all the predefined ones. We can also create those, using the hex, which is the word for it. It's big in DLP. You can get a configuration to block any type of data, so you can build out your own anonymizable or company data and build out different profiles for that as well. So you can really customize it, get down. This one was just sort of done to anonymize the data. And
if you come in a session ever again,
we will
there'll be a demo of something interesting to see, because I think the thing for me about this is that when people behave strange, you kind of start to see it, you know. You start smelling a drink, you know, their behaviour changes. We ain't going to have a clue when the behaviour of an AI agent changes. Not that big, because it will still be doing what it's supposed to do. We need something that's going to be able to monitor the behaviour, and these are the sorts of tools that are coming out. And if you look through like Checkpoint and the various different, they're all Netscope, they're all bringing out their own variants of this.
Checkpoint bought a company as well, and they just integrated it, and it's supposed to go into GA next week.
Yeah,
So they're a bit behind. The other key thing here as well is API gateway. So obviously all these models connect via APIs, API keys, that kind of thing, and there's a big security risk there if that API key gets compromised, right? So basically we can have an API gateway sitting on the Cato platform so that all your APIs and internal stuff connect to the Cato, and that's all secure, but then the external one then just connects into the one gateway.
So you get to see what's actually happening if that behaviour changes. So I'm going to skip past the platform. I forgot that wasn't a video. So again, as we're out of time, sandboxing again, it's just another feature that comes in as part of Cato's next gen anti-malware scanners. So if you download a virus, and in this video all I do is just go to ECA, download the virus. What Cato will do is, if it detects the virus, it will take it, it will drop it into a sandbox VM, and it'll execute it, and it will give you a report on the execution of that, so that you can then go, I know what that is, that's false positive. But it will tell you what it thinks of it, whether it thinks it's a false positive, whether it doesn't, it will tell you where it's trying to write to, and it just runs inside this wee sandbox environment. And once it's finished, obviously that deletes it. It doesn't touch your system, it's just some runtime environment that sits in the cloud infecting something else. So you can see in this block malicious content, and what if I'll jump back to the Cato CMA, And then if I go to the events, what I'll do is I'll show the specific event where it's flagged as anti-malware. And once I go through the event, it'll give you, the malware event will give you information, country and all that sort of stuff, and again, you can still block that geo location block and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just saying malware events for me in the last 10 minutes, and it will bring that one up that I just generated. You can see here, that's the test file, as I'm sure you're all familiar with. Yeah, that's just giving you destination country, Germany.
And you can see from, the events and data, any firewall, running, all those type of events, all of that, right? Everything's there and it's all surfaced up.
And then you see the sandbox reports, and that's actually the report. And it gives you the verdict, and again, you can download the report, download a PDF, and that will give you loads of information. Now, I've done this with other files since, and there's not much information in this because it's just a file, it's just essentially a string of text, and there's nothing to it. But when I scroll down to the bottom, you'll see it'll give me a screenshot of the runtime environment, obviously nothing. But if that was something malicious, it'll give you multiple screenshots of that runtime environment each time it changes. So really, really powerful, really cool. And I just wanted to show you that again. There's so many different USPs for these different SASE companies. It's important to understand them. So thank you all for listening.